Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Dynamics Corner, the podcast where we dive deep into all things Microsoft Dynamics. Whether you're a seasoned expert or just starting your journey into the world of Dynamics 365, this is your place to gain insights, learn new tricks, and hear from industry experts, and not just from this podcast, but at Summit as well. I'm your co-host, Chris.
And this was Brad. This episode was recorded on September 27th, 2023. Chris, it's been a minute, but we're back at it again.
Back to his normal schedule.
Hopefully a normal schedule. We have a lot of things to do to prepare for the upcoming summer conference. So
yes,
I hope you have some coffee ready for these things that we have to put together.
I'm ready. I'm running on fumes, but I'm ready.
I know. I'm running on fumes today for some reason. The gas tank is empty. I don't know why. But, there's nothing we can do but push through. And that we did because we had the great guest today, as with every single one of our guests. And today we had the opportunity to speak with David Laster of GraVoc about Summit, Power BI, and a bunch of other little things. Stop. See, nobody listens to me.
Everyone's listening. We're waiting.
You didn't wait. David started talking ahead of time. He wasn't supposed to.
It's all good. He just called. He just said my name. That's all he said.
I want to acknowledge you and say, "Hey, Chris, you're here."
Now we can say this. Okay, ready?
There you go.
3, 2. No, I'm just kidding. We already started. It's good.
All good.
David. See, now you can ask Chris how he's doing.
Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm doing wonderful. I'm ready for the event coming up. So
the event
super excited. No, the major event of the year that happens in October.
Oh, I thought you were talking about my birthday or something, but that has already passed. So
yes,
it's still coming up though, Brad.
It's coming up. I guess it's a big event next year. But David, glad that we could finally connect. We did have a couple of scheduling mishaps, all because of me. I apologize, but thank you for being accommodating to catch up with us. I've been looking forward to speaking with another semi-local. I won't talk about that border issue that we have, but member of the community. And as Chris had alluded to, wanted to speak with you about that big event that's coming up, as well as some other topics that we spoke about speaking about when it comes to Power BI and some other items. So
I'm excited. It's great to be doing this, being able to share the love. Yeah, Summit's coming up. It's like weeks away. I'm on a few different panels, and the people are, all the speakers that are working in collaboration on different things are all finishing the last bit of their slides and checking their bios. It's kind of an exciting time, even for all of us, because so many people go to Summit. There's so much to learn.
I'll give you a secret. Chris hasn't even started his yet.
I'm sure that you're not in the minority for.
I think a lot of people will probably get theirs started a week before.
Well, the Microsoft keeps changing the links. So if you're going to put current content out there, they're going to call it X yesterday and they're going to call it like Fabric today. So you got to stay on top of.
Well, it's tough. Wave 2023 Wave 2 is being released October 2nd. The conference is October 15th to the 20th in Charlotte, North Carolina. That is the Summit North America Conference.
Everyone's environment will be updated during the conference.
So we'll see what happens. I have a presentation. It's done. I have to go through and edit it and preview it, but I'll give you another secret. I do a lot of these, so I'm using one that I've done several times already. Hopefully the information's still current, which it should be. I'll check.
Use this year's template though, Brad. Don't use last year's template. You got to get that right.
No, I switched the template. I went through and did that. It was nice.
Good.
I had to ask for help. On Grandpa Google told me how to apply a template to an existing slide presentation. So I did have to adjust some of it for spacing, but for the most part, it came through okay. And then I have
worked
another.
For me too. I was very, very impressed, actually.
Good. See, the template this year is much better than it was last year.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah.
I created a few of my own as well. Did you get creative with your templates? Did you go into the master and change a few things?
Not on this one. Last year I did. Last year I had to get creative. But
how many do you
it's
have?
a much
One,
better
two?
template.
I am only doing one,
Okay.
and I'm on a panel as well as doing an academy session.
Oh, all right.
So Chris and I are doing an academy session on development in AL. It's a 2-day session. So
what days?
The 2 days that they're doing the academy session before.
Sunday,
it's
Monday?
Sunday, Monday.
15th, 16th.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Great.
So.
Really quick, David, and I'll cut this part of the recording. Your camera is blurry. I'm not sure if that's from me or.
Let me check the lighting. It might be not doing well with lighting.
Okay, I just want to. It's like it's like out of focus for some reason. And
I thought it was just because does it look
there you
go.
Perfect.
Much better.
It's probably, does that help?
Yes.
Yeah, much better.
Much better.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I couldn't tell. It looked fuzzy to me, but I wasn't sure if it was fuzzy to you. So I'm glad you spoke up, Chris.
And Chris, why are you still cutting? Am I better in the middle? Because I had to switch cameras last minute.
Shift a little bit. I don't know if it's mirrored, so shift towards the door, away from the door. Nope. Either way.
That's towards the door.
Perfect. Towards the door. Yeah.
I'll have to remember to stand here. I'm
That's
standing.
Now you're more in the picture.
Yep.
Okay, well,
You can go a little bit more, by the way, if you wanted to be in the center.
There you go. That's
How
perfect.
am I in the center?
that's what it's showing. But this is
Go back the other way just a little bit. Perfect.
There, perfect.
That is perfect right there.
I guess I'll just stand here.
You stand too?
Typically I don't, but I am today.
Yeah.
Me too. We're all standing.
Okay, well, you could have picked up back then. With the alignment.
This whole thing is staying in the recording, by the way, because it's like it's funny.
It's good. It's how I like to make it real. Okay. So you had mentioned that you are participating in Summit. What are you presenting? What panels are you on? I
am actually kind of all over the place. My calendar looks a little nuts for all the places they are, but that's what makes it so exciting. The very first day, the Tuesday morning, I have a how to accelerate your Power BI reporting with Business Central. It is a deep dive. It's an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
It's something that I've first time I've ever put a deep dive session in before because they offered it this year, and I think that's a nice feature to have. So we collected a number of sessions. I'm on the session review committee as well for the Business Central side. So I get to see a lot of neat, ideas and help people get to the point of getting this, the stage, if you will, and doing a presentation. But mine is like right at the beginning. It's on Tuesday morning. It's how to accelerate your Power BI reporting capability with BC. I've done this in a couple of forms in the past. I added a fourth section this year. There's like 3 lessons, and the 4th lesson is on telemetry. So I'm really excited to debut that as a part of how to get more out of Power BI for BC.
So you're doing telemetry and Power BI as part of your session?
Just a little tiny bit. Remember, there's 4 lessons. That's one. So it's the exciting part.
I have a lot of questions for you. I'm trying to hold back. So what else are you doing?
All right. So, I have to be full disclosure, to be honest with you. I have been 20 plus years on the Great Plains side of life. So I've been doing ERP implementations for 23, 24, 25 almost years. And so I'm kind of deeply rooted on that side and have a lot of experience with that ERP, but also my real specialty is reporting. So that's why the Power BI piece is a draw for me. But I was in the room in Fargo when they announced the project that this was coming someday, Business Central, SaaS Online, and I almost didn't believe it. And then, since it came out, I've been following Business Central and deploying and implementing even our own company. I've built extensions and whatnot for it that are like mainstream app source kind of things. So it's really an exciting place and space. And the Summit is a great place to talk to others about that. But so I do a lot of Great Plains stuff as well. So I actually have, I think, 2 panels that I'm on the Great Plains side.
I can't speak to you anymore.
We're still friends. We're still friends.
It's still a Dynamics family.
Yeah, well, it's Dynamics. That's true. A lot of Great Plains companies are taking a serious look at Business Central too. And it's a lot of it's like, you know, if you're going to go for a serious hike somewhere, sometimes it's good to have a guide. And to have somebody who knows Great Plains and knows Business Central, you know, inside and out, really can help, you know, the Dynamics
transition.
family, like you said,
Yeah.
the Microsoft platform, the Dynamics.
Do you see what he did there, Chris, to try to make me be friendly to him again? He threw in the hiking reference.
Oh, I love it. We're all hikers.
He's trying to butter me up, but no, it's okay. I don't hold it against anybody. I say that in jest. I think it is still a great community. It is an ERP software application, and as you had mentioned, a lot of Great Plains users are moving to the Business Central community, which is great, and I welcome them all.
There's a lot of them.
So is the Power BI one the only Business Central session that you're doing?
It is, yes. I've got 2 other Ask the Experts panels on the Great Plains side that I'm going to be doing. One's on system administration, and the other one is on reporting with Great Plains. My background is always been.
So if you're doing the Ask the Experts panel, let's just say I was in your session, and my question would be, should I go to Business Central, stay in Great Plains? What would it be?
We have to talk.
Ooh, put you in the spot.
we just have to talk. I need to get to know more about, you know, what you have.
Great answer. That is a great answer. That is.
There's so much.
I say that in jest because there's a lot to that. I think it's with anybody. I think some people have a little, I don't know, bad feeling or bad taste because of some comments that made years ago. But I think it's like anything else. You have to use the product that's right for you, right? There isn't a product that's right for everybody. A product that's good for me may not be good for you. It doesn't mean it's a bad product. And that's
timing plays a lot into that too.
Say it again, please.
The timing,
Yes,
plays a lot into that decision too. You know.
Yes. So one thing with this summit, you know, it's a conference that encompasses, you had mentioned, it's not just Business Central, it's the Dynamics family. There's sessions on Business Central, Power Platform, Power BI, Great Plains. I think there's also some D365 FNSCM as well on there. It's a community-driven event, which is nice. Microsoft does put on a lot of the presentations. I think they do about half, but the rest of it's driven by the community, which is great. A lot of volunteers that spend their time speaking. You had mentioned that you were speaking here as well. What made you do this, and how do you prepare for it? This is, we say in jest, you know, now it's 3 weeks away from the conference at the time of this recording. You know, everyone's getting ready for their presentation or rehearsing their presentation. What do you do to prepare for your presentation?
You know, get to know the material really, really well. Oftentimes, I actually pick something that I either learn that is kind of mind blowing. It's like, wow, other people should really know this, and they should get the triptych on how to get there. You know, it's not a covered wagon affair. This is a community, and the event especially is an awesome place for us to get together and do that. And I myself have benefited. What drives me to do it, I myself have benefited, and still to this day go to my own other people's sessions when I'm not in one doing myself, but I sit and I just absorb it. I'm like a sponge, you know. I just try to absorb these new ideas and other ways that people present concepts and things. Because at the end of the day, we're the professionals that know the Microsoft platform, and we want to give our best. And if we don't know what we really should know and kind of cross-pollinate ideas, then we're not going to be able to deliver the best service that we can. So this community event with 6,000 or so people is just such an awesome time to network, but also learn, you know, day after day after day about things you don't know, or even that you do know but want to know better. So
yeah, it's a two-way street. You know, you're also learning, because I learn something every year that I go to. I go to this event, and I always learn something in return. So not only you're sharing the knowledge of your experience of using the product, but also vice versa. There's other experts in there that are like, yeah, I want to know a little bit more about that and how I can use it. And, you know, learning to take something back.
How do I prepare, though, is a good question that I don't know if I adequately answered there.
No, you skated over it, but I'll let that, you know, slide.
I have a fire pit. I work in my home office, right? And I have a fire pit outside. And my wife's a big Red Sox fan, so it's fall. She loves to, don't hate me for that. Well, you're from New England, you'll be fine. I have a lot of time to myself when she watches the Red Sox. So in the fall, I really enjoy a little bit of alone time where I can kind of sit alone and not be like here in the office. I'm a little outside. I can disconnect it and I can think about, what's going to matter. How do I tie some concepts together? And then I put a slide deck together that I think is compelling. A lot of people will say minimize your decks. I actually kind of pack them because it's so easy to just go download, download, download. And then you get intelligence and information from these sessions, even if you didn't get to go, because the content is available for you. And that's actually helped me as a key takeaway from other conferences is download the materials, even if you didn't even go to the session and it's something of interest for you.
So you sit out in the alone time and you put the slide deck together right from your fire pit.
Not fire pit.
In the cool New England fall season.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's nice. New England in the fall is great. You can't beat it. When I was younger, I liked the winter as well. But as I started aging, I think we spoke about this before. The cold and I do not do well together any longer. It's my adverse. It's my
you're safe down there now.
Yeah. So it's good. So the presentations you prepare for, you guys had both mentioned that, you speak and then with the experts. I do find that this is a great place to network, to meet other members of the community, but also the learning, I think, goes far beyond the sessions. Over the years, some of the acquaintances that I have made at these conferences were great resources that I could use or rely upon. They're all talented individuals that if I had questions or for scenarios, but with the product changing, speaking for Business Central and the ecosystem changing, it's very difficult for anybody to be an expert. You may be an expert in one small facet of the ecosystem, but Business Central now, as we keep saying over and over, is now just went right? Before it was all these little things. Now it's Power Platform. Now it's API. Now it's Power BI. Now it's telemetry. Now it's, the open pilot contribution, the pilot contribution program where people are now adding features and functionality to it to be accepted. It's changing on a daily basis almost. So it's important, in my opinion, to have other members of the community that you associate with. Even if they work for a partner, they could work for a customer, because somebody who may work for an end user, as they get referred to often, may know parts of the application better than somebody who actually implements it for a profession. So it's a great place to pick up a lot of information, as well as meet even great dynamic members of the community.
Yeah, absolutely true.
Chris is always laughing at me.
No, this is good. This is good. That's why I'm so excited, even though it's nerve-wracking at the same time, because you're presenting, what you consider yourself as an expert of something, and you always have that. By the time you present, there may be new information, right? Like I'll share it really quickly on one of my presentation is, what is AI but a friendly ally intelligence? And so basically my topic is about power virtual agents. And as I continue to build this and they get closer to the event, they made an announcement of adding more stuff. And I'm like, okay, should I add this to my thing? If I do, that means it's going to prolong it. Should I take, what am I taking away? All that stuff. And to Brad's point, the Dynamics family of products is changing so fast that it's almost like you got to do it just in time, kind of a presentation, like do it the very last minute, even the day of. Do I need to make an adjustment because I just came across something?
Well, I think that you have to do that. It's kind of tongue in cheek in some of it, because you want to validate the functionality that you're going to present and relay to others. But to your other point, it is difficult with this being so close to wave 2 of 2023 with that new features and functionality, because I think some of the participants, I myself would like to see some of it. I play with the preview long before it gets released to try to learn some of the functionality. As soon as they start publishing the list and they start making some of the downloads available to start working with it, just to try to learn the new functionality. But as you'd mentioned, now it's fresh. The question may be, what's new in 2023 Wave 2, or if you're talking about the AI, if something's changed, you have to keep it sort of current.
To add on that is the Business Central Wave concept it's kind of deceiving, in my opinion and experience, because they have like the rolling wave. They announce all these great features in the wave, and you're like, great. And then when you dig into it, sometimes it's like December, available in December.
Yes.
So yeah, it's great to stay on top. What the dashboard they have is really good to show you kind of what's coming out and when. So the waves are great, but the minor rollouts, I think, are the ones that I'm looking for the features in those, and when those get either forced out or deprecated. So
true. That's absolutely true. And then there's also features that make it in the cumulative updates that aren't on the list.
Yeah.
Because they get part of the contributions from others, or other things are on there. But there is also a list, not only with the wave and the rolling wave, there is also a list of, and Chris will have to put that on the show notes, of what is being taken away or what is changing, which is also just as important, because along with the addition of new features with each wave for that period, they also take away features or functionality, to keep up with the progress of the software. Which is important.
Yeah, it's vitally important if that extension is not accepted in the newer rollout, and it's your banking extension. These things are pretty important, but they're real life in the cloud.
Yes. Oh, yes. There was a period of they had some interface, and that interface went away. It stopped working for everybody.
Yep.
And they had to figure it out, as I say.
So David, on your presentation about Power BI in Business Central, is the Power BI have the same, life cycle in terms of updates as well?
I kind of feel like every time I open the Power BI desktop or log into the Power BI service, something's different. Honestly, it used to be a once a month thing, when you would open the desktop and great, your features are here. Click, look here. Now it's literally things are hidden behind curtains and under drop downs and things, and they shift things over a little bit. I think there might be telemetry on it. There's got to be something going on with Power BI, because it's like there's like shuttle shifts all the time, to be honest with you. On the app, the service itself, they've really like drawn that out into a command and control center in a way that is a lot more mature than how it started off. So I'm excited to see a lot of that capability out there right now. And the paginated reports especially is just, the future of so much of what I see happening with this Power BI and Business Central, to be honest.
So with Power BI, you come from a Great Plains background. The use of Power BI, how similar would the use of Power BI be for Business Central as compared to Great Plains? And if somebody's working on a Great Plains implementation and they're migrating to Business Central, I know the data structures may be different, or probably are different. I use the word may loosely. Can you easily move some of those reports over from Great Plains to Business Central, or would you have to?
You can take the concept of the report and move it over. If you have an accounts receivable dashboard, right, for Great Plains, and it's got customers and statements and all kinds of neat drill throughs and stuff, that's a SQL Server data source. You're kind of locked into those columns and tables and that data model as well. However, the concept of customers and addresses and sales invoices and all that kind of stuff holds true. The way you get there is not on a premise connection. It's still a data source connection. So it can be done. You can refresh. But the sharing of that file can be a little bit easier. When you're plugged into the cloud, you don't need that enterprise gateway to kind of move your data from GP up to the cloud. It's a little closer to your data, I think. So it helps with performance as well. It gives you some additional features that you do need to do a rewrite. But, conceptually, yeah, you could recreate an accounts receivable dashboard that has the same functions and kind of look and feel that you have in Great Plains. But the core application in terms of designing and building and measures and making it look good and, publishing it, all those key concepts are great. They're no different in terms of Great Plains versus for Business Central. The reality is that I think Power BI is the future for all of these ERPs, because it's so awesome to just have the information at your fingertips and not waste login time, log out time, set the parameters, refresh. They're like, Power BI is an evergreen reporting tool if you set it up the right way. So just kind of click here, click there. It's a dashboard. Everything you need is in one spot. So, I think it is the future. So no matter what your data source for an ERP, and I've done CRM dashboards and Excel dashboards and SharePoint dashboards and, all kinds of different things we've done dashboards against, it's really what you do with the knowledge and the insights that you gain from it, as opposed to if it's, GP or if it's Business Central specific.
Power BI is the future. It's the evergreen. You just click here, click there. I love it. Can I type what can I write? Like, is it context sensitive reporting? Can I type what were my sales in Q1 last year?
You could definitely use a Q&A tile, essentially, to ask your data some questions. You tell it what data points to look at, and you just type in there.
That's amazing.
It really is amazing. The Q&A piece, it's, to me, I played with it against a couple of data sets just to see what it would do. I don't use that as an object tile on most of my dashboards, but it is fascinating to show somebody who's never seen Power BI and they want to kind of get a run around the block. It's like, here, this does this tile does this thing does this, and ask your questions to your data and see what happens. Click here to see 40 pre-drawn AI generated insights dashboards. Swipe left, swipe right. Keep that one. It's so. It makes it so easy, which is probably why I think it's the future.
I think that's what I love about the Power BI when they introduced the Q&A, because although you had to ask a structured way to get the data you're looking for, and then it does present it to you in a way that, hey, based on my question, I like the visual that it gave me. I want to add it to my dashboard. Have you gotten a chance? I know there's been talks about this, and I haven't been using Power BI consistently for a long time, at least in the past year and a half. So I'm curious. There's Copilot being introduced to Power BI eventually. Have you gotten a chance to review what that looks like, or is it even available currently? Can it be used?
Sadly, I do not have the answer to that, and I'm hoping, while I'm at Summit, Chris, to pop over to the Power BI, suite and go look through some of those courses, because they're so interesting to learn about the tech, the new tech, the pilot, the Copilot, the AI stuff, and how it fits in and enhances what Power BI can do. But not just that, Business Central also has a component to that. So, general knowledge, as we're working with these cloud applications in the Microsoft platform, whatever track you attend, you'll pick up some good stuff. I'm
curious your take on that, because you're considering you got GP, and of course customers are coming from Nav going to Business Central, and one of maybe the selling point is the fact that there's now a Copilot, and practically any Microsoft product, at least the modern ones, or at least what they're focusing on the cloud. What's your takeaway for people maybe coming from Dynamics SL or GP that is like, maybe I should go to Business Central? Is that a compelling selling point to go to a different ERP because of these Copilot functionalities?
I think it's going to obviously grow in terms of how that will be a compelling story for Microsoft, of course. We, as partners, implementation consultants, we got to wrap our head around it, I think, in order to tell, right, and demonstrate an effective use of, right? Otherwise, it's just this AI whatever out there. But what's a practical use of this in this application? Here's another one. Here's another one. Like, we need to get comfortable with that, I think, first, as this technology, again, is so new. And then we can say, here, customer, if you, tried it this way, or if you, let me show you this. Sometimes, the first time doesn't stick, and not every customer will absorb that, or and user gets it. But the generation of people that we're implementing these ERP systems now for, they're so much more quick and tech savvy than old parts like me. I like my SQL on-prem based application, but I've also adopted to the cloud because I get a few more years until retirement. But at the end of the day, the new wave of people making decisions are a lot younger. So they want to have this this constant, always, thing out there. It's
Sure.
very interesting.
That is a key point. The decision makers of today are younger than the dinosaurs that you're referring to, but it's just something that they're comfortable with growing up. Chris and I were talking about something earlier. It's talking about being comfortable with what's available today, because if not, we would all still be in a horse and buggy, or actually we all would still be walking, because once the automobile was invented, if we didn't adopt and move forward with it, then we would be left behind. But you also forget who you're talking to. Did you know Chris GPT?
You need a bumper sticker for that. I like that.
He does need a bumper sticker, because Chris GPT, and I say over and over again, I'm going to say it because these things are timeless. One day, all of a sudden, Chris was talking to me. He's like, "Yo, Brett, we do Then the next thing you know, he started talking to me, asking me a question. He's like, "Well, the centrifugal force of this, and you go over to here, and then the flux capacitor takes the electrode." And I'm like, "Dude, where are you getting all this stuff?" He's like, "Chat GPT." So now every time we talk, right, Chris does the Chat GPT, and now, right, because I've been playing with the voice AI, right? You give voice samples and you can give scripts and do it. So I've been, having conversations with Chris and myself, and he just doesn't know them because we have samples of his voice. Now he's doing it too. So now he's trying to show me all these cool AI generated Chris things. So I'm just going to just talk and ask him a question, and he's just going to play from his phone, the response from Chris GPT sounding like it's him.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty fun, right? Like, it's been a huge progress in the community of all these capabilities, and Microsoft putting a lot of effort behind all the products and all of it talking to each other and such. And so there is a lot to take. And to your point, David, it's really our responsibility as, I don't know, curators in a sense, in working with the clients. It's like, okay, do you really need this? Where can this fit in your business? And does it answer the challenges you may be dealing with? And does it answer your business challenges and so forth? Is it going to cause more issues than fix things? And I think that's where our responsibility comes into play, and making sure that they're choosing the right thing. So you have several sessions. You also have Ask the Experts. Are these mainly focused on the GP space, or Business Central, or Power BI?
The two Ask the Experts that I'm on for reporting and for sysadmin are specific to Great Plains. And then that's my primary background. I'll tell you one other one that I didn't highlight yet was I've got a second deep dive on Power BI for Great Plains on that side as well. This one is called 7 Power BI Reports You Need for Your Dynamics GP Users. Because
nice.
Great
So you're
Plains
doing both
Power
GP and
BI
BC.
plug in together so easily and so well. Everybody has the same table structure. I don't have to publish endpoint, right? All I got to do is just like plug in, parameters, database, company ID, and refresh. Like, to do Power BI with Great Plains from company to company is really kind of a nice blessing we have. But yeah, how to get and other ways to use Power BI, because once people see how easy it is to use, how insightful it is, and a lot of people log into Great Plains to run reports or to find reports or to find information to look it up. You don't need to do that. You can really save a lot of time by writing reports and maybe publishing to a Teams channel so that your sales reps or your order handlers
read
can see.
only.
Yeah, exactly. You can publish the Power BI report and have it refresh there during the day, so they don't have to waste time, right? We need to be efficient, and labor is expensive, right? So, let's be efficient with all those resources and those tools, those new tools that we get from Microsoft that are always so fun to learn and share knowledge with others about. I have one that I'll highlight for you, I think, in the vein of talking about sessions and getting excited for Summit, by the way, is Microsoft, GP has announced that, up until now, that they're on a mainstream life cycle. They're supported through 2028 and beyond. We'll see what they talk about this year, and I'm excited to hear any new features and stuff. But there's a new session that we're doing this year because of that. The Microsoft's recent investment in Business Central. It's called the future of GP, the future of GP so bright, gotta wear shades. This is a session that the community summit has essentially kind of blocked out all the other GP informational session times on. And they have a long 1.5-hour session, and there's a number of segments to that session that are going to be talking about why Great Plains will be around for a long time, but equally addressing the fact that, Microsoft has made these cloud investments, and also, being able to address those as, GP, ERP specialist, admin, IT, CFO decision makers, what's best for their organization. Right. And that's really what it's about. And we want everybody to stay in the Microsoft platform. And a lot of it's about timing. A lot of it ultimately is about timing. But I'm excited for that session to participate as a panelist. And of course, in that one, I get to talk about why Power BI is the future of Great Plains. So I'm excited. Again, you can see it here.
It's super exciting. You talk about the GP and what the future holds for GP. And of course, you mentioned Microsoft's going to continue to support it, to 2028 and beyond, and being in the cloud. My question to you and maybe anybody else is listening wants to interact with us on, maybe via YouTube, because you can comment, is that what does it mean being in the cloud? Sometimes it's okay for clients to stay on the current ERP, and maybe the misunderstanding of being in the cloud is just maybe hosting it somewhere else, right? So that it's not, so you don't have to worry about the hardware that you may have to maintain on a yearly basis or every 3 years. And if the product is still good for you, but you just want to make sure, like, hey, maybe I'll just host it elsewhere, you can still use that product for as long as you can, 2028 and beyond, but on the cloud, private cloud, host it somewhere else, so that you can continue to manage it that way and not have to have a physical server. So my question to you is, a lot of GP customers, are their environment, because again, I don't know a lot about GP, are they mostly on, if they're on-prem, is it mostly servers in the building?
It's a Windows server somewhere.
Windows server somewhere. Okay.
It's a Windows server somewhere, right? It's a SQL server somewhere. It's a Windows server somewhere. Okay. My organization is GraVoc. We're in the Northeast Peabody, Massachusetts area. But we do a lot of Great Plains and Business Central and the whole Dynamics lineup. But what I'm seeing is really not GP organizations move to BC. We're seeing GP organizations that want to get the server out of the closet or whatnot. They want to keep their GP, but they want to be able to have their people click a web link and log in. And we can do that. So your point is dead on, right, Chris? And saying, what does a cloud mean? Well, yes, we can put GP in the cloud, whether it be true Azure cloud, but we host a lot of organizations as well. We have our private cloud. We have our own data centers, and there's a lot of organizations that do this. So if you like your GP, obviously you can keep your GP. And you can put it in the cloud through a hosting type of organization and mechanism. But that's a great way to say, when people say cloud, there is a distinction there, and you have to dig a little deeper, because if something ain't broke, don't fix it, right? If it satisfies your needs and it gives you everything you want and need, then you don't have to take the latest and greatest right now. A couple of years from now, maybe, sure, but
I think a lot of people, when they say they want to be in that trend, right? Like, be in the cloud. But changing an ERP system is very expensive. It's especially if you're coming from an entirely different ERP. It's not an upgrade. You're re-implementing to a brand new application, and just to get to the cloud. But if the timing is not there, like you said, and the capital costs of getting you up there, maybe to get on a trend of being in the cloud, it's just basically hosting it elsewhere for the next couple of years or so. That way, you're technically in the cloud in a sense, but at least it removes that risk and removes that.
What's the carrying cost as well?
If you have carrying it hosted. Cost. Yes.
I mean, cloud, like you had mentioned, SaaS, iPaaS, there's a number of different options. Depends what you're talking about with the cloud. But moving to the cloud, what some refer to as a private cloud, where David had mentioned is, a Windows server somewhere, basically running your application. It does help you, like you had mentioned, give you the security so you're not running that in your building, and hopefully wherever it's being hosted has good disaster recovery. But the cost to maintain those servers you can eliminate, and now you're just paying for the hosting service instead of having to pay for someone to maintain it as well as have maintenance on those machines as well.
David,
That's the big benefit. Say it again?
So many places don't even have offices anymore. So, to have their system in the cloud is a prerequisite.
Yes.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that, because, the GP, I know about the application. I just don't know the business side of things, or the space. But it's interesting to hear that a lot of the customers are not necessarily moving to BC, but moving their foundation into a privately hosted. So did that pick up a lot of business for you guys when you move, of course, pandemic happened. It's like, hey, we can't be in the office. I still got to run my business. Obviously I can't go to to my building and all that stuff. Like, did that shift a lot of business for you?
We had been hosting before that, but we definitely, like anybody in the hosting business and anybody that was in essentially providing any sort of cloud anything, we were humping for a little while, trying to create accounts and create environments and move out, create VPN connections and create a remote desktop machine all over the place. We survived that, but a lot of people realize that if I'm going to have to touch and invest in my hardware and move it or upgrade it, then, through a good advisor, trusted advisor, they're doing a thorough evaluation on what you have, and they're telling you the honest truth about what you need. And if that means, host it here or buy a new server or move to Business Central, it's up to you to say yes or no as a business decision maker. But, you have a lot of options and a lot of good people to bounce ideas and get second or third opinions off of, experience-wise at this point.
Yeah, that's and that's fair. And again, it's pretty interesting. That's an eye opener for me, because I'm always curious. Like what else is everyone doing? I mean, that's the same thing for Dynamics SL. At the same time, right? Like maybe it's a smaller subset, but I'm sure they're gonna have the same questions. Do I move to Business Central, or can I just move my stuff over to a privately hosted? Because it runs my business as it stands currently. So, other than that, what else are you excited about on for Summit?
Seeing my network. I've got a lot of great people that have helped me over the years. I always look them in the eye and say thank you for this blog post, or I go to the ISVs that are on the floor, and I meet the people I haven't met in person yet that have helped me with implementations or done support for our customers. I look as many as I can in the eye and introduce myself so that they put a name and a face, but I also say thank you or ask some questions. And sometimes, these next couple of weeks leading up to Summit, I just say, let's just talk at Summit. Let's just talk at Summit, because there's so much space and time and opportunity to mingle and to talk and to learn about each other here. And that's what's really exciting about it in terms of, what else am I looking forward to? What I do, put another quarter in the machine.
It's that passion, man. It's
you must have
excitement.
hit the power button or something. We're just standing here, and next thing you know,
we're back.
I've never seen anybody disappear as quickly as that. It's almost like
it's a mic drop. Wait till you see my presentation. I'm totally kidding.
Mic drop. No, David, you were saying about thanking all the people you've encountered throughout the year or throughout the years of maybe just having that conversation virtually and then just being able to see him in person. I'm the same way. Like, I've seen your stuff before, but I've never really shook your hand. So I'm really looking forward to
that right there. When you were talking about that, you mentioned
thanks.
Within this community, do you know how many people that I've spoken to for years that I've never met? That sometimes I go to a conference and I find, that we finally get to cross paths at the conference and get to meet them. And there's been some cases where I wanted to meet them, but based upon our schedules while we're at these conferences, you didn't get a chance to meet them. It's so interesting how the community is and how the world is today, Because before it was just, okay, well, you were in my circle. I knew you. We were in my area. You know, you talk about the user groups. Some are virtual, some are in person. What's the benefits of those? Not to have it the topic for this session. We'll have it for one in the future. But now everything's virtual. Like you said, you mentioned people you know, like you read their blog posts, so you hear and you talk to them. It's almost like you know them. And then when you meet them, it's like, oh, you know, I knew you. I know you. Oh, so how's your dog? I've never talked to you before. No,
It is. It's wonderful. It truly is wonderful.
So I do look forward to that. And that's when you go to some of these conferences, a lot of times people talk about the whole networking thing. Some people have the misconception it's just a big party or drinking type event, right? But what I found, and I think we spoke about this before, sometimes those environments are where you can get some of the best education, some of the best resources, some of the best networking, maybe because it's relaxed and it's a place where you can sit and talk. And it's not just because of, you know, if you're having a drink or not, because I've gone to some of these. Chris will tell you, one I went, I didn't drink until the very last night. So I was going out to the bars and I was drinking water, making it, you know, you just to feel like I had a drink in my hand. But you get to meet so many people because you're relaxed and you're focused. You know, you're not trying to learn. You're not trying to sell a product. You're not trying to work and do email or keep up with it. You just focus on being able to talk to people and talk about a product. So the value of that network that you build is amazing.
You know, you guys are doing Academy on Sunday, Monday, right? Make sure people know that the at 5 o'clock is the new to Summit opening gong show, whatever it is. I will be actually hosting that on the Great Plains side, but anybody that's on the NAV side, please go to the NAV Business Central new to Summit. I heard the percentage of new people this year is really great. So get there by 5 o'clock and get to your respective summit. I looked at the floor plan that just came out, and these rooms are huge for the new to Summit. They did a great job of laying this out. So I'm hopeful we can get. I'm hoping that they pack those rooms and that they're going to be really compelling, start to multiple days of learning. I always look for the coffee out in the hallways. So I really hope that those folks have coffee this year. It's the only thing that keeps me warm when I'm in some of those sessions. So bring a sweater or something. Sometimes those hotel rooms are a little cold. And then I guess the other big tip is, wear comfortable shoes because you're kind of walking all over the place all day long for day after day after day, being kind of like a sponge. So I hope to meet somebody, if you saw this video, or I'm going to see you guys there, but I'd love to say hello, say hello to me. So I know who you are, obviously, but we share a common interest in the community and these Dynamics products.
No, it is. Well, I'll definitely see you. We'll have to hunt you down. I typically don't bring a sweater, but
there's certain rooms where okay, it's a little chilly.
No, it is. I'd rather have it chilly than hot, because at hot it gets a little sleepy. So the chill kind of helps keep you awake. I'm interested, and hopefully we'll find out in a few days to hear the statistics of, you had mentioned there's a number of first-time attendees to this, but just to get the breakdown of the total number of attendees. I know they take registrations all the way up until the last minute. So I've been to some conferences and people are just like, I registered this morning. Well, I'm here. So, but you still get a good sense of it, which is nice. So I'm looking forward to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Really quick too, a question for you, David. I know you're hosting New to Summit. That's typically around people that are first time going to a summit event. For those that are maybe listening or watching this podcast, is there an additional tip that you can share besides light jacket and then good shoes? Is there another thing that they should prepare for those that are just starting or first time going into summit? Can you share another tip?
I will. I got a few actually, because I'm doing the what's new, or we're doing the new to summit thing. I will, and it's important that people know. I've experienced a number of times where if I didn't have a backup session, right, I went to the room, it wasn't I expected, so I needed to back out and go to another room for that hour. Like, your time is precious, and the presenters are cool with it. Like, none of the presenters get really upset if somebody says, "Hey, I'm in the wrong spot." They want you to go to the right spot.
Yep,
believe
absolutely.
me, right, guys? So, that's one thing is have a backup to go to just in case you can't find your primary room or your room is too full or, you needed to just jettison for whatever reason. Okay. So that's one tip. Also, use the app, mark them all up so that you have them, but have screenshots, especially on the side. I've had more than one of these conferences where I'm trying to get to the room and the internet's down. Microsoft people breaking the internet. It's not the first time it's happened. So have a backup plan, because if at 2:30 you're supposed to be somewhere and you don't know where room 104 is, your screenshots will tell you that. Let's see, what else? I would say if your partner is going to be there, or if your partner and your customers are going to be there, plan time to meet and spend time and walk around and try to reinforce each other's visit, right? That's good. If you haven't, meet people. That's the other thing. Just meet people as much as you possibly can. Share stories. They'll sit next to you left and right. Don't be afraid to ask questions during the sessions. All the presenters are great about, asking and answering those questions. Sometimes they leave plenty of time for questions. So use that. Don't be afraid. No question is dumb. Sometimes if this presenter doesn't know, don't be surprised. Somebody else in the room is going to pipe up and help. That's kind of a neat thing also I've observed about every one of these presentations, where when the presenter doesn't know, somebody else can help them. And if not, they can follow up and have resources to do that.
No, there's a lot of great tips. I do think that you said meet people. I think sometimes it's good if you go with a group of people. Sometimes several people will go together from a particular organization, whether it be a partner, a customer, ISV. I always challenge everybody to, at lunch or at dinner or some of the other expo events, don't sit with the people that you went with. Go sit with people that you've never met. Sit down, introduce yourself. I know Chris and I sometimes will go together, but we'll sit down at the table with people we don't even know and just start talking to them and introduce ourselves. And you get to meet a number of different people. Also, some may be shy, so it's good to, in doing that, you can meet somebody who may not be so comfortable doing that as well. So then you can, bring them to have a little more comfort and get more out of the conference, other than just what they get from the sessions, but they can, feel comfortable walking around talking with, meeting people. So that's great.
Yeah. And if you're a veteran too, you got to make it welcoming. Cause I remember when I first went back in 2013, man, I was quiet. I don't know what to do. First time, like, well, where do I go? And some people are super friendly and say, hey, what brings you to Summit and all that stuff. So it's been wonderful. So, David, man, I appreciate your time being a guest to our podcast here, Dynamics Corner. Is there any, for those that are listening, what's the best way for people to find you, follow you, contact you, and such?
I'll be frank, probably just find me on LinkedIn, David Laster. GraVoc, GraVoc. It's a company I work with. I'm the director of software solutions there. You can look us up, gravoc.com, find me on LinkedIn. I don't do too much social media. I tend to keep a relatively smallish footprint, but these events I tend to talk about more socially. So I tend to talk about what sessions I'm doing and what events I'm going to be at, because putting together these it's a lot of work, but it's also very rewarding.
It is a lot of work
to engage with people.
Often
at these, yeah.
Some don't realize what it takes for a presenter to put something together. So I'm always very supportive and appreciative for somebody for the time they put together, because that hour session is typically not an hour of preparation. Usually there's several hours or days. Some will.
It's a lot of fire pits.
Yeah.
Oh,
I told you,
yes.
It's a lot of fire pits.
I try to do. I try to do it weeks in advance, several weeks in advance, where I can do a couple hours a day, so I'm not cramming. I can get fresh and redo, but still, over those couple weeks, if I spend 2 to 3 days for that hour session, collectively, it's not. It's not exaggeration. You do get a good. I think someone mentioned to me one time you can expect 8 hours of preparation for each hour of presentation, at a minimum. Again, for a quality
easily.
Yeah,
easily.
That's what I say, like for
easily
a minimum of 8 hours. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
often if you present quite a bit, you just reuse the sessions, because you can kind of fluff them up over the course of the year, so you can present the same thing at multiple conferences. So.
Right. To have the privilege of coming back actually says a lot, because that means the feedback was good, which is an important part that doesn't really get published that much, is that after the sessions are over, they're on the app this year. You're going to be able to give a little feedback to every presenter that you go to right there before leaving the room. So pretty excited about getting that instant feedback
and connect, right? So make sure you follow up and connect via LinkedIn, like what David, like what you have, right? So the same way. And you're also going to be as a GP medic, right?
I will be. I got a couple stints at the medic bench. So yeah, that's always a great time too. It's always like somebody tries to stump the medic. And I remember a couple of the best cases from time to time. I'm just like, wow, they brought that. They like paid that one person out of 10 to show up with that one question. But to be honest, we solve a lot of problems for a lot of people there. And it's because, again, a lot of the attendees are new. So what they don't know, they don't know. And it's a quick minute with somebody who knows a lot, whether it, and if nobody's there, walk over and just start talking to them, because they're there available to help or to talk about that product that they're representing. And maybe you get some insights. If not, you make a friend.
All right. Well, David, thanks for your time, my friend. And we're looking forward to see you at Summit. And hopefully people will find you at Medic, GP Medic, because I know there's time intervals as well. So maybe people will just camp out until you show up,
He's a celebrity.
I'll be there. I can't remember what the times were, but I'll be there. I look forward to it. It's always a good time.
He's a celebrity. So you may not get the opportunity to see him.
I'll come find you, though. I'll come find you.
I will find you somewhere. We'll connect anyway. We don't have to go find him, Chris. Well,
I'll be at the BC NAV reception on Monday, the 16th.
Well, we're doing our thing on the 15th, and I will be there. I'll need to be there.
After an academy, you're gonna need a little drink.
You're gonna need to be there.
Oh yeah, we'll have to wear dark clothing, Chris. Light clothing, dark clothing.
Is it? I don't know. Is there a dress code?
No, because when you sweat, right? When you're presenting, you sweat. Oh, you're supposed to wear dark clothing, so you can't see the sweat. The light clothing. So just remember that, Chris.
All right, I'll make sure.
All right. Thank you, David. It was great speaking with you. Look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. All right. Ciao.
You bet.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Chris, for your time for another episode of In the Dynamics Corner Chair. And thank you to our guests for participating.
Thank you, Brad, for your time. It is a wonderful episode of Dynamics Corner Chair. I would also like to thank our guests for joining us. Thank you for all of our listeners tuning in as well. You can find Brad at developerlife.com. That is DVLPRLIFE.com. And you can interact with them via Twitter, DVLPRLIFE. You can also find me at matalino.io, matalino.io. And my Twitter handle is matalino16. And you can see those links down below in the show notes. Again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, and take care.